Imagine a narrow stretch of ocean that basically holds the power to dictate the price of almost everything you buy.
Yeah, and the stability of global markets, too.
Exactly. Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're looking at the intensely high-stakes diplomacy unfolding between the U.S. and Iran.
And just to set the stage here, we are looking purely at the mechanics of this standoff. No taking sides, no political endorsements.
Right, we're just breaking down the facts to see how these moves actually impact global energy security, the future of the Middle East, and, well, your wallet.
Because to understand those economic stakes, you really have to unpack the negotiation tactics driving them.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the tactics are intense. U.S. President Trump is saying talks with Iran are progressing, but he's demanding a, quote, great deal.
Yeah, and his alternative is this stark warning that the nearly 3-month-old ceasefire could just collapse into a much bigger and stronger conflict.
It feels like walking a high wire without a safety net, honestly. Combining this heavy military pressure with diplomacy, does that actually force a resolution? Or are we just creating the perfect conditions for an accidental war?
Well, what's fascinating here is the psychology behind it. It's a classic maximum pressure strategy.
Right.
Instead of showing up to the table asking for mutual concessions, you project overwhelming strength. You threaten severe escalation.
So you make a diplomatic agreement look like the literal only alternative to destruction.
Exactly. You are setting the baseline terms for survival.
Which brings us to the actual terms on that very fragile table.
Yeah.
And they center entirely on the water.
Yeah, the proposed framework is pretty wild. The U.S. would lift its naval blockade of Iranian ports.
Which is a move that instantly strangles a local economy, right? Just cutting off all incoming goods.
Oh, absolutely. And in exchange for lifting that, Iran reopens the Strait of Hormuz.
Where 1/5 of the world's oil flows? I mean, it's a massive choke point. The markets are already reacting to the rumors, too. Brent crude dropped below $100 a barrel, and global stocks rallied.
Yeah, the market loves the idea of that reopening.
But wait, if 20% of global oil is trapped, aren't both sides mutually incentivized to just fix this immediately, like to avoid crushing their own economies?
You would totally think mutual survival would be the priority, but, in this tier of geopolitics, economic pain is a weaponized asset.
Wow, okay. How so?
Well, Iran keeping the strait closed creates immense upward pressure on Western inflation. Gas goes up, logistics soar, groceries get way more expensive.
And on the flip side, the U.S. naval blockade cuts off Iran's lifeline.
Right. They are essentially holding each other's economies hostage. Opening the strait is the pressure release valve they both need, but the standoff is about maximizing the other guy's pain first.
Just to dictate those final terms. And that localized hostage situation is exactly why Trump is pushing for a broader solution, isn't it?
Yeah, reopening the strait is really just phase one.
Because he's reportedly calling leaders from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Egypt, urging them to join an expansion of the 2020 Abraham Accords.
And we should probably define how those accords actually function, because that is the real shift in the balance of power here.
Right. The original accords took countries that historically refused to recognize Israel and bound them together through formal diplomatic ties.
But more importantly, through direct trade and shared security agreements.
So it's really about financial interdependence. By integrating Israel, the Gulf states, and an Iran agreement into one massive economic bloc, I mean, you make the cost of future wars too devastating for anyone to afford.
That is the exact mechanism. If your power grids and banking systems are tied to your neighbor, shooting at them means you're shooting yourself.
Wow. You aren't just pausing a conflict. You are trying to fundamentally redraw the map of the Middle East.
Exactly. Moving from isolated military truces to a permanent, region-wide normalization framework.
So what does this actually mean for you, listening right now? Your practical, real-time dashboard for whether this diplomacy is working isn't some press conference.
No, it's the Strait of Hormuz. Tanker traffic and crude oil prices are your truest indicators of success.
If oil prices suddenly spike, that maximum pressure strategy might be fracturing.
And if they stabilize, the regional integration might actually be taking hold.
Imagine a future where former adversaries in this incredibly volatile region are fully economically integrated. It would shift global power dynamics forever.
It really would. The question is, will this fragile framework be the catalyst for a stabilized Middle East or the spark for an unprecedented global conflict?
It all hinges on navigating that narrow stretch of ocean. Definitely something to think about as you watch the markets.